March 12, 2024 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you're with us, and for those watching online, we are glad you are with us as well. We will begin, as we always do, in an invocation, and one of my favorite Protestants, Reverend David Clifford from First Christian Church, is with us to lead us in prayer. Please stand.
Thank you, Judge. Will you pray with me, please? Gracious and merciful Creator, as we gather in this space today, we are grateful for this wonderful community we get to call home. We seek your wisdom, guidance, and blessings for these leaders that are called to make the best decisions possible for each of us and our neighbors. Grant them clarity of mind, integrity in their decision-making, and compassion in their hearts and in their actions as they deliberate over matters that impact the well-being of all within our community. Help us to work together harmoniously with respect for one another's perspectives towards our common goal of life and liberty. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend, and all kidding aside, I'm really glad you're in our community. It's been a great addition. I hope your family's enjoying Henderson.
He's a pretty darn good pastor, too. You ought to come by First Christian Church some Sunday and worship with us.
Awesome. An invitation.
See, he's been telling us to evangelize more, and I just invited people to church.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Manager Southard?
Here.
Manager Tompkins?
Here.
Manager Putman?
Here.
Manager Starks?
Here.
Manager Berry is absent today.
Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the February 27th, 2024 Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any additions, clarifications, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is Judges Scholar Day again here at Fiscal Court, and we have our VIP from South Heights Elementary School, Miss Arabella Roper, and I would like Arabella to join me right here in front of the podium. I'm going to read a proclamation in your honor.
Okay. Whereas Arabella Roper has been chosen by South Heights Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award for exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities, and whereas Arabella's hard work and dedication in making the most of educational experiences and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success, and whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Arabella's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the local school system and acknowledges these accomplishments as being significant, because students such as Arabella Roper will be our future leaders. And now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim today, March 12, 2024, as Arabella Roper Day here in Henderson County.
We'll take family first. So good. All right, congratulations, Arabella. And I know family's very proud, and we really enjoy having our judges, scholars with us because they are trying so hard and accomplishing so many things. It's just a small token of appreciation we can offer. But she's going to hang out with us for the rest of the meeting, and we will forge ahead. For the County Board of Zoning Adjustment, we have 2 seats coming up. One is Wes Alexander, who has expressed his desire to serve again. And after checking with him and the chairman, Mr. Dickey Johnson, I would like to go ahead and appoint Wes one more term. I think he's done a good job. There is an empty seat coming up, and I have spoken with the gentleman who several months ago sent me word that he was really looking forward to participating in some way, helping the community in some way, either on a board or commission. And when this seat came up, I thought of David Littrell, who's a young attorney here in town and works for the firm run by Austin Vowles. And after talking with David and again, Mr. Johnson, I would like to nominate David Littrell to fill the open seat. And this term will begin at the BOZA meeting in April. So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve Wes Alexander and David Littrell to take seats on the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is something that I do appreciate both Steve Gold and Magistrate Tompkins' work on as we are trying to craft an ordinance that would help us regulate large battery farms, which are lithium battery farms that help add additional power to the grid during high peak times. And it is common technology in some parts of the country, but it is brand new here in Kentucky. And one of the locations for a proposed battery farm is out off Toy and Thoston Road. And in thinking about an ordinance that would help both encourage the establishment of that farm, because I think redundancy and helping with peak energy demand is a good thing, but also protecting neighbors and making sure that they abide by other regulations. We've been discussing a draft ordinance, and what we quickly came to understand is that there's a lot about this technology we don't know. And in throwing an initial draft at the company to get comments from, many of the technical recommendations they came back with were way over my head and not very familiar to many of the fire officials who were in the meeting that we held. So I think we all agreed, I know we all agreed to reach out to consultants who can help us with the technical questions we might have, and what the organization that the city is using for that same purpose is EUDS Consulting, and part of their team, I think, is a retired firefighter here from Henderson. They are located elsewhere, but we are going to propose to court that we contract with EUDS to consult with us as we work through this battery farm ordinance. They have set us proposed the same fee schedule that the city is following with them. The total cost, if it really came down to using them for months and months, would be no more than $20,000. We expect it to be much less than that because some of the questions that we'd be dealing with are the same questions the city has. And so the two ordinances are very close to being identical, but not quite. So I'm asking the court's permission to enlist EUDS as a consultant as we work through this, just to make sure we get this right and to make sure that we understand all the potential dangers and the potential benefits fully before we bring an ordinance here to fiscal court.
Judge, if I may, just to
Sure.
kind of build a little bit on the context for this, why this is important and getting this right is important. In places where they have had these types of facilities, there have been fires, and these fires get into something called thermal runaway, and there's really no amount of water that can put that out. And it is a real issue in places that are, primarily reliant on volunteer fire departments and things like that. So I think it's a really good idea to the court to engage consultants to make sure that we get this right, to not only make sure that it's right for Henderson, but it also is the right type of regulation that includes the fire protection needed in order to make sure that the community is safe.
I agree, and I also would like to add to that too, that, we're talking about public safety here at the end of the day, and we also want to put forth an ordinance that is able to grow with this technology, because it's not really just new to Kentucky, it's pretty new, period. So there's room to expand, and that's why I think it's really important to have these people who are on the forefront of this, who deal with it and are as close to subject matter experts as we can get. So I think it's something that, we have to do our due diligence, and that's what we need to do there.
Any other discussion?
Is this, you talk about the city of Henderson, is this battery for city of Henderson power, or?
No, they're considering a farm inside the city limits as well.
Okay.
And I believe that one would specifically aid HMP&L.
Right. So the one we're talking about is, the city really won't be affiliated with that
No.
station at all?
Right.
Okay. Well, I move
That would be hooked up to a large transformer that Big River's placed out on the same plot of ground, actually, to help with their build-out of the heavy-duty power lines to Pratt. And this farm is located there because it's a way to onboard the energy they've got through that new transformer, which is why they're close by.
I move we hire the consultant
I'll second.
agency.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion about that?
They have provided a contract, and I've reviewed the contract, and it's approved as to form and legality.
And I was just going to mention, this will look at also what happens, I guess, after the life of this battery farm, as far as any kind of environmental cleanup or decommissioning.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
Just as we did with the
With the
solar
wind,
farm
yeah, solar farm.
ordinance, yeah. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. On a related note, we have reviewed the bids on the jail solar array offer, and Amerlite, which constructed the array on top of the Judicial Center, was the only bidder. They offered two different length lease agreements, a 15-year and a 20-year, after consulting with Jailer Todd. First of all, we'd like to recommend their 15-year contract. In addition to the contract that they turned in, after more discussions with a representative from that company, Bryce Vincent, they have also offered, and I believe this is in your packets, a production guarantee addendum to the contract, which basically means they will guarantee up to 90% of their projections over that 15-year period. If they do not produce that amount over that 15-year period, they will make up the difference financially. And that's important because the production of power is what enables us to get the rates that save us money. And I talked to Brad Bickett at HMP&L, and he said typically in the industry, these guarantees hover around 85%. So this is actually a little bit better than he's seen in the past. Now, after Mr. Gold reviewed the contract offer, he has several questions that he wants to run by Amerlite, but in order to keep the process moving forward, he agreed that asking for a vote to go ahead and accept the bid pending his contract negotiations with Amerlite on some points would be acceptable. Mr. Gold, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes. As you know, we do have an existing contract with Amerlite for the Judicial Center, and there were some things that were in our agreement with them regarding the Judicial Center that were taken out of the one for the jail. And I think some of them are material and important, and hopefully we can work with them to get that agreement to look more like the one for the Judicial Center and move forward.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve pending Steve's approval.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Master Tompkins, just to clarify, would your motion also support the addendum that delineates their power production guarantee as well?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
And that will have to be that'll have to be incorporated in
Absolutely.
anything
And
I approve.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I took that in. Yes,
That's
sir.
okay.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
So we have that motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Yes.
Any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would also like to say that Amerlite agreed to offer the same addendum on power production guarantee for the Judicial Center, which was not part of the original deal, but they have agreed to add that as an addendum to the existing contract. I think that's a good deal.
That's encouraging.
And they're more than happy. I have looked at our performance since we started, as Magistrate Southard wanted, and we are saving about $1,000 a month, including both what we pay and the fee and the lease payment we make. Our overall savings is $1,000 a month, which may not sound like a lot, but the whole point is that when that when that contract runs out, we no longer have to make those payments to Amerlite, and if the system is still, we get the benefit of the full.
Right.
That's about $1,000 a month. So actually, we're saving about $2,000 a month year over year in the payments we're making to HMP&L, the rate we're getting. So
Yep.
it is working as planned so far, knock on wood. But I would like a motion to approve the addendum. I believe it's the same language as the one that was in your packet for the jail. It's the same guarantee, same rate, 90%, or they make up the difference
I'll make
themselves.
the motion to approve the addendum as well.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that addendum to the Judicial Center contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. Interesting discussion we had last meeting about the challenges with Green River Road number 1. We tasked Nick Stallings, county engineer, to go visit with all the constituents out there, and he did. Had some interesting conversations, so I'd like to turn over Nick to summarize that research.
All right, now we got the sequel. You know, every good movie's got a sequel. So this is, again, kind of a summary. This is what we found February 9th. Then we won't work again. Bad news, Brent. Bad news already. Okay, so February 9th, again, these are just some more pictures. February 10th, continue slide. February 11th, we lost the whole entire cross-section of the road. So again, overview where we're at. You see the road slide up there in blue. And then in blue there, we're just north of Sharner Road. This is again, we had 5,500 yards actually gone, a potential failure again of 2,000 yards that's possibly moving. We went through our options last time, kind of gave you price indications on all three. It was kind of consensus that rebuilding the road was kind of out of the budget for the type of road it was. So now we're looking at two options. Y'all want me to dive into those a little better, so let's jump in. Relocating the roadway. We have talked with the Department of Forestry. They're allowing us to move the road over around 30 feet from the existing road into their edge of the property. We would still have to do surveying work, but this is a viable option to keep the road open and just relocating the center line. One issue we have with that is, as you can tell, water comes up, water goes down, it brings with it driftwood. With the road being away from the forest, we have a little buffer that collects the trees. Again, right now we're 30, 40 foot from the first line of trees. So as the water comes up, water goes down, most of the trees are collected right beside the tree line off our road. So it gives a buffer. The forestry really doesn't care about the trees being there because of habitat. But if we move the road over against their forest, now the tree buffer becomes in our roadway, or against our roadway, so now it'll be a little bit more work to keep the road clean after water comes up, water goes down. So again, adding back in the point, we're looking at about 144,000 to relocate the roadway, assuming we have suitable soils. Then now we'll look at the road closure options. We go back to the east enclosure, the two alternates for west enclosure, and then the difference between the two, and then remind everybody of the state forest property. So now we'll look at the east enclosure. Simply would close it right there at the intersection of Sharner Road and Green River Road number 1. Our closure would consist of an earth and berm, some delineators, signage, letting people know the road's closed. What would this look like? Possibly, earth and berm such as this. We would put in, some type of vegetation. Then we could use delineators, again, tubular markers to delineate the roads being closed. Put in chevrons to make the turn from Green River Road number 1 onto Sharner. We could do a type 2 barricade, reflective barricades, and again, put a road closed sign up to hammer home the fact that the road's closed. Secondly, on the alternate 1, went out there and looked. We were possibly putting the closure just on the other side of this marine service. What I determined out here would be either earth and berm or access a locked gate, which we would give the property owners beyond the closure a key to access their properties. Alternate 2 would be right there at the intersection of the Green River State Forest, would be the second alternate for a closure. So this is what I found last couple of weeks going through everything. Evansville Marine Service has a barge service there. If we put the closure beyond there, we could put retaining walls along this edge here from tree line to the closure for the gate. That would keep people from accessing, going around the gate to get beyond the closure to go down Green River Road again. And this will keep people from getting in a farmer's field. What this would look like, obviously a gate, and then some type of barrier along the tree, along the fence, the field line would either be highway barriers or some type of concrete block barriers. Again, to keep people from running ATVs or vehicles around the fence, around the locked gate. But there's problems with using that, because beyond 0.6 of a mile beyond Evansville Marine Service, there's a Crounce fuel dock. Okay, I met with them. They said that they usually have access 24 hours a day. They said that the gate wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but more likely the gate would never get closed, because they're always running fuel back and forth. They're running material. They're running food. They're running petroleum products back to this fuel dock to load the barges for the next adventure. Okay, so that's an option. That's a problem we have. Second issue we have is if you look beyond Crounce's fuel dock, we've got a half a mile to get to Green River State Forest. Okay, that's another half a mile that we have to worry about having open if we need to. Now, Crounce has a lease along this whole entire property line that they able to get to the flotillas and their barges for any type of work. So they park on the sides of the road, access through this trees to get to their barges. They said they could access this anywhere as long as we're on their lease property, which would be the first, 1/10 of a mile, 2/10 of a mile that they could access their property here. Okay, so one thing that we would look at is possibly just doing some type of closure, a hybrid closure along this route. The only issue we have is what could we put up here to keep the public from just jumping this gate and continue on their way. One option I thought about was maybe removing the road along this point, because the road will revert back to the adjacent landowners. That way to give the public who wants to jump this fence nowhere to go. They have no, you know what I mean? So that's an option that we have. Our other option we have is to close it right there to Green River State Forest. And again, this one has a natural tree buffer. So besides the gate being here, it has a tree buffer on this side, tree buffer on that side. It kind of deter people from jumping the gate. I mean, you're not going to stop it completely. If people want to go, people are going to go. But that is another option we have, closure there. Now, with this, with the whole entire area, we've got let's go back to it. We've got a farmer who farms on both sides of this potential closure. So we have a farmer who farms in this area. He also farms this area. So with this closure between there and there, they will have to take Charner Road down to 60, back up Tim and Bethel to get back to the property. All right. I only found one farmer out there that had that issue. Other farmers I talked to said they come up Tim and Bethel and turn left. Other farmers I talked to said they come up Charner and go right. So as of right now, we've got one particular farmer that runs from both sides and utilizes this road as planting, harvest, and run the grain trucks. So that is a quirk in the plans. But I talked with Evansville Ring Service. They were adamant they didn't want the closure in their front yard because then the bonfires, the trash would be now in their front yard. They would have increased security. Crown said they didn't want the closure in front of their front yard because obviously fuel docks, bonfires, trash, again, would be a problem for them. Green River State Forest said they didn't want their closure in front of them because now their forest would be a dumping grounds, bonfire, trash. You see what I'm saying? Everybody get this?
Yep.
So we've got issue we see before us. We have 144,000 roughly for us to move this road over, to keep the road open, to highway standards, or we have a closure that really nobody wants in their front yard. And we've got indications of one farmer that needs that road to go from right to left or left to right. So again, my job is to give you all the details. Your job is to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I get to push it on to like, hey, it's not my fault, guys. So again, I don't mind as a county engineer, as my road crew, we don't mind to build a road. We don't mind to close a road. It doesn't matter on our part. I know we have constituents that we got to take care of, pay county taxes that do utilize this road. But then again, there's got to be a cost-benefit ratio. We're talking about a road that's not going to be pristine. Every time the water comes up, water goes down. It's a mud-ridden road. We put rock back on top of it. So it isn't like we're making a road that is going to a subdivision. This road floods, dries out, floods, dries out, and we've got continuous rock. So whatever we do to the road, it won't stay pretty, it won't stay clean. It'll be a continuous maintenance deal.
So that 144,000, Nick, it's just a temporary fix?
Well,
you're going to have the same issues, it just don't wash completely out?
Yes, what it does is we get off the riverbank a little bit, and we give a little bit more buffer. But being on the inside of that curve, that presents a problem because that's the fastest moving water that has before it makes the opposite curve. It's just hydrodynamics, all right? So what we can do is move the road back. It gives a little bit of a buffer. We can always throw concrete in there. We can throw large cyclopene stone, type 3 stone that will actually slow the water down. But over the decades, we've had 4 or 5 locations in that stretch from Charner Road to this curve that has failed, that we've came in and fixed. All those failures has happened off the roadway itself, so it's been an easy fix. It's thrown in blocks or whatever we have for common field. But moving the road back, we would have survey costs involved to do a land swap. We would have dozer work to move trees and move brush that's now loaded in there for the last decade or so, and then we build a road back up with quarry run all the way up to number 3 rock. Again, it's not doable. It's easy to be done. It would actually be fun for everybody to do something a little different. But again, we have a cost-benefit ratio that I'm sure you all are looking at.
So here's my question. What studies or what can you do to ensure that we don't have the same problem? You don't know how far back underneath that road at this point that soil's been compromised. So what are we gonna do? I mean, we give this 144,000, 5 years down the road, it continues to slough off. How do we make sure that that's not a problem? Because I've dealt with enough water, and it's not the river. You know, the river's gonna do what it's gonna do. I don't know that throwing riprap or concrete in there is gonna slow it down, because if there's already fissures in there that's already back up underneath,
Yes.
it's gonna continue to do that, and we may be back in the same spot in 5 years or less.
Yes, and these continuous problems that happen is not just the moving water, it's also when the river comes up, river goes down, it finds its path least
That's
resistance, right? So now you have hundreds of acres of water coming out back into the river. The river drops quickly, that water drops quickly, and now you have essentially an unchannelized detention or retention channel.
Yep, agreed.
So you're basically running a ditch that's all nothing but soil, which, as you know, erodes. So now we have hundreds of acres of water getting back into the river as fast as they can, and it finds a path of least resistance, which in this case, it was this corner of the property, took it with it.
Right.
So it'd be awesome if I could tell you all that, hey, this is what we do to fix it. But, even Owensboro had that major seawall there, and they had, a small failure. I mean, things like that happen. River's going to win. The ocean's going to win. But again, I don't care to fight like Hunter Mustard. We'll get in there and we'll do it. But at some point in time, we'll have to.
I agree. The point I was trying to make there was, is there something that we can do before we pull the trigger and say, yes, do everything we can do to be certain as we can be at this time that there's not further, an additional 10 or 15 feet that's already pretty severely compromised to where we're going to lose what we put in.
That can be done geotech. I can get a geotech firm that can come in and do core samples. All right. With the core sample, they'll come in and, like a Shelby tube. They'll run a Shelby tube sample.
That's what I was driving at.
And then you'll go back through and you look at your shear lines. If they have any kind of movement, that would show. We can do 3 or 4 locations through there. But again, we're talking about 300-400 foot of a road that's a mile long that's been sliding over the years.
Yep.
So we're shining the wheels, but leaving the car dirty. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But we can punch 3 or 4 holes along there. We can look at what the subgrade looks like, and then from that point we can have a better idea of what the soil strengths are, and if anything else has failed back farther up. But if it continues to be the path least resistance, the water's going to continue to go out here. Every time the water comes up, water goes down. It uses this path to get out. It may continue.
How many feet are we talking about moving it back?
We would move it back to around 30 feet. That would move the center line over 30 feet. And that would, and I guess we could probably get another 5-10 feet out of that, but any more, we're going to have to tear down a lot of trees, and the forestry loves trees. And, we're a road department, but it's kind of go against what we have, right? So at some point in time, we're going to say, hey, you're far enough away, you can't give you any more. But 30 feet may be awesome. 30 feet may be all we need. We come and safe up the bank, and it may not be an issue again.
Well, that 144,000 is just a patch again, so.
That is a patch, but it may be a good patch. I would, me and a lot of geotech engineers like to say, oh yeah, that's an easy fix, and it may work. But that's one thing about hydrodynamics is where the water comes in and where the water goes out, half passage comes in, rapid redraw. Green River, a lot of times its play is Ohio River. So if Ohio River's fast, if we're so close to Ohio River, if Ohio River's up, Green River stays up. Right? Ohio River drops down quickly, now Green River drops down quickly, which means now our floodland is emptying out as quick as it can.
You know, you talked about the closures, Nick. Was there any more feedback from anybody in the area that might use that road? Nothing?
I just got that one farmer. So
So we've got two businesses that don't want it.
actually three businesses if you call the forestry a business. We got three. And if we don't close it here by Evansville Marine Service, where we actually put in a block wall with the gate, if we close it down here, people, you
That's not gonna work.
You put a road close sign up, it's like, hey, watch this.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
sure not
really doesn't help. So it doesn't really matter. Even if we do go through here somewhere, between this point, we take the road out. There's not a road there. They're gonna make a road, right? I mean, it's just you can't put up something that says road closed without somebody saying, wait a second.
And go back, because I got a question for Thomas. I'm going to put him on the spot. Sorry, neighbor. Go back a couple slides there where you show the forestry, please. Keep going one more time. It shows, well, I thought, here we go. Thought I saw
I
something.
know, man, this is what
Whoop,
happens.
right
There it is.
There we go. So, I understand that the forestry is not excited about closures or giving up the ground either way. Fair statement? Okay, so, right there in that curve, that's always going to be a pain point. Fair statement to that as well,
Absolutely.
for the river?
Yep,
yellow
from
dot.
this closure to there.
It's
has
a
been
tough
ridden.
spot.
Yep.
It's going to be a real pressure point.
Always, because
So-
of the dynamics of the river.
So, Thomas, I guess it's more of just a question. You see where there's openings that are maintained, what are those openings that are, you see like this line that I'm not drawing on my screen like y'all can see what I'm talking
Talking
about.
about these,
Right
Yeah,
there,
that line right
that
there.
path right through there, Thomas, what is that? And I'll tell you why I'm asking. Because
It's an access road.
if it's an access road, it's already there, right? If we are doing a land swap anyway, that's about as permanent a fix as you can get because we bypass that completely. We make a 90-degree turn there where there's already an access road. And then,
And then do what, bisect the forest?
Yeah, the line that's going north and south, that is a power line.
okay, that's a power line.
The access road is the one that's running more.
Run east and west. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that crosses that.
Right, okay. Well, then never mind, that shoots that down, so.
I'm talking about that strip that is going basically east to west. That's an access road. It goes right by your office there and.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
Yes. I would say that, as far as moving the road, if y'all decided that you wanted to go that route, the 30 feet, that kind of gets it into the cleared area now. If you wanted to do that and you wanted to go a little more, I'm sure that we'd be agreeable to moving it some, just, not excessively, probably. But if we need to go 50 feet to make the center line or whatever, if that would make things better,
Right,
I
that's.
would say we would be open to that.
I feel like we're gonna have to do at least, because if we move the center line 30 feet, I mean, I feel like we're just throwing this money away, just because I've been in the river, but I mean, do you disagree? We only
Well-
move 30 feet?
The only thing I heard that I like about is talking about putting concrete and stuff on the riverbank.
It'll slow it down.
Because I've seen we've had success at what we call Captain John's down in Geneva.
Yes.
It's actually going the other way. We've actually built it out. So if we keep our eyes on that riverbank, we can stop this from happening.
Nick, what does that do if you go to the 50-foot center line to the cost of 144?
Instead of a 650-foot road, it'll probably be moving around 800. So I mean, maybe 10%, 15% more. But that's just again an estimate. I get it. I mean, it'd be awesome to move the road back as far as we can, so we don't have that situation. But I'm just concerned we do all this and then we have a slide this
Start losing
farther
up
down,
here.
right? And we start losing it further down. We can protect the channel. We can protect the channel, allowing the water to enter back into the river from the floodlands by doing a slurry riprap, which is basically run a riprap down, run a wet concrete over top of it, kind of holds it together, makes it a solid block.
Yep.
It allows water to go through to slow it down and to dissipate the energy, which isn't a bad fix. We're going to run out of concrete some point in time if we keep using this bust up concrete along this riverbank. Concrete is going to become a scarcity for us getting recycled concrete that we get from somebody else. At some point in time, it's going to be done. Anything smaller than a Class 2 channel lining is going to be spitting in the wind because it's not large enough to be able to resist the currents along the river. So we're looking at Class 3 channel lining, or we're looking even, there's an Ajax product that's made by Contact, awesome product. It's basically like jacks that you used to play when you were a kid. They're made out of concrete, beautiful stuff, right? But you're also talking, $100, $200 a piece, and you're utilizing it. A lot of times they use it along bridge banks, along piers for scour conditions. Well, this, if you look at scour, we're looking at possibly a, half a mile scour, which isn't as a bridge in. I mean, there were a couple $100,000 in just, protected bridge ends. This obviously would be well over that.
Nick, for any of these things you're talking about doing, as far as putting things on the bank, things like that, would any of that require Corps of Engineers approval?
No, I'm just joking. It would. I mean, definitely, I could not do all this and not get with them. Right. We would get with the Newburgh section, and then I would let them know, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is a navigable river, so it definitely falls under the WOTUS, which is water of the United States. So we would fall under them. I would obviously get them involved, let them know what we're doing, and then, that kind of thing as far as protection of road for the public versus their waterway.
Sounds like we're leaning towards leaving that road open.
I think.
If I'm hearing what you guys are talking about, so.
No, do not.
Well, here's my point to the closure. They don't, Evansville Marine doesn't want it. The fuel people don't want it. We've got Farmer that doesn't want it. And another thing that we have to consider too, it's $144,000 or so to do this job. We forced that one farmer to go around the other way on roads that aren't designed because they're narrow. We're going to tear up those roads, those shoulders. It's going to be dangerous. So then we're putting other people on more highly traveled roads at risk because we're forcing farm traffic, bigger than normal traffic, around that direction. While it's a short distance, it's still a safety concern. So I think, those are things that are byproducts of us closing that road that we may not have even considered at this point, so.
Well, and leaving it open has its drawbacks as well, because another portion of that road can start deteriorating at some point.
And one possibility is maybe the farmer working with the Department of Forestry to give them kind of an access, for their farming season. It doesn't solve the grain truck issue because, it's different running tractors over dirt than running loaded semi trucks. So that may not work, but again, this, we're trying to be benefit to the constituents out there, but at some point, we gotta look at that.
How long has this road been in existence? I mean, decades and decades, right?
My whole life.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So
Been through there a million times.
closing any county road that's been there a long time is not a small consideration.
No.
And we obviously have the challenges with closures because of Evansville Marine and Krause. $144,000 in the grand scheme of things is not a big
huge
deal.
Right.
I understand about, chasing good money after bad. But I think before we truly make a call, I think the geotech needs to be done. I think you one of the points you made was that moving the road is probably only predicated on having suitable soil.
Yes.
We need to find out whether it's suitable soil first, correct? I mean,
Yeah, you can make anything suitable by going deep enough. You can just rip the top, 2 foot of incompressibles out. Then you would have some type of some type of road, I mean, soil that you can build on, especially on a quarry run. That's a big footprint, you know, it'll float anything. But I would like to have the geotech for what Master Tompkins was talking about as far as how far back
Potential failure.
have we failed.
Can we go ahead and before we make the ultimate decision here, go ahead and get that done?
Absolutely.
And have you come back and tell us what that showed? And I think that'll inform our decision.
I agree.
What kind of costs associated, because we're at 165 if you go to the 50-foot mark, to the center line. Do you have an idea what that geotech?
Oh, they're 10, 15,000.
So
I would
you're
say
at about
that-
175,
Yeah, I would say-
180,000,
I would say at
if
the
we
most.
do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say at the most, you know, and, you know, because they'll take 3 or 4 Shelby tubes full, will come back, they'll come back and analyze it, give me the data I need,
Yeah.
and then move on.
I'll say too that I understand, you know, Mr. Williams, the farmer, has got an obviously strong opinion about this. Implements move around our county all the time. They've done it many times. He farms other places in the county. It's not a new experience for him. I know what you're saying about public safety. Anytime farm implements are out anywhere in the county, it's a potential public safety. But in the end, this is not a huge lift for him if it came to it. However, again, I think closing a county road that's been in existence and used for a long, long time is not a small thing. So how about if we table it
Oh, I agree.
while we arrange some geotech work done?
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to kick down the road. I'm trying to make sure we have all the information we might need before we make what is not a small decision. So if it doesn't give you much heartburn, I'd like to go ahead and schedule it.
It'd be good.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And anytime we can introduce a reference to Colonel Mustard in a fiscal court presentation, I'm all
good deal.
about it.
Hey,
And-
You
and thank
forgot in the library
Is
with
that
the pipe wrench.
listen, man, everybody.
Was he an engineer? Was he a
You don't
civil
know
engineer?
what's going to come out of me. I'm telling you
True
what.
that.
Amazing.
All right.
Thank you to
Yeah.
Thomas, too, for answering those questions,
Yes.
putting you on the spot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Just some food for thought. I know the county, y'all move on, you have a project and you get it done. The state sometimes is not quite that fast. So the sooner that we can get a proposal of what what you would like to do, the sooner I can get it turned in and maybe get something going. But it would be probably a 6-month
That's okay.
decision.
Because I think, preparing for the cost in the next fiscal year probably helps us as well.
Yeah.
And I also want to throw out there, and I hope I can, you don't mind me representing this from the court to the state. You've been very helpful to us over the last few years. I know you and I worked together on a little project to help the condition of Green River Road #1 there. If there's a chance in this whole process that we can help the forest in some way, there may be some component of this that you've been putting off that would help the situation out there. I think we'd be very open to helping with that too,
I agree.
considering you're willing to help us in this way. So be thinking about that.
Sounds good. I'll keep that in mind. And I want to tell y'all, we appreciate you. The road that's there now that goes through the middle of the forest, you put in for us. And we pay for the material, but you did all the labor. And so we are glad to work with you however we can.
I did have a quick question. If we do decide to relocate and keep that road open, does that actually benefit the forest in a way for you guys to access some of that area a little bit easier than otherwise?
It wouldn't, just because we're not moving it that much. I don't think that it would benefit.
Not a
But
big
it
deal.
really wouldn't hurt that much either.
I didn't know-
The timber there's not a lot of value in the trees there, so if we have to move out.
Do you have any
a few more
development
trees,
plans that might change that picture, or
Probably not.
probably not? Okay.
Thank you. Nick, if you want to come back up and talk to us about the bonds from Castle Gas.
Okay, they came in September, November timeframe, October, November timeframe last year, and replaced a new line from the Ohio River down to Hempel, or Big Rivers plant. Okay, to get that done, we implemented a damage deposit and a road bond. Me and the road superintendent went through, looked at all the crossings, and felt with what was there, that we could release their surety bonds, which you all did that a few courts ago. Then now it comes time for the damage deposit. They put up $100,000 for damage deposit. There's a couple crossings that they ran a trico across, and they were newer pavement that we got to come back and seal to maintain the asphalt there. And then a couple of the rock roads they use to get back to the river. I mean, you can tell tall tale signs of where they were at, where they weren't. So we have some repair to do along with the rock. I would like to withhold 55,000 of that. That would and then kind of see where we're at when we get done re-rocking, sealing out, that kind of thing, and so release 45,000 them back to them with the contingency that they may have more released back to them once we get done. I feel 55,000 would be plenty that we can get finished with what we have to do, and it may leave more to go back to them.
Have you talked to them about this
Yes,
plan?
I already have.
And they're
Yes.
okay with
Yep.
it?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? And I do appreciate you taking the time to set this arrangement up and asking them to keep some money with us for these potential repairs. I think it was a great idea, and hopefully it'll work out. So, any other questions of Nick on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on to illegal dumps.
Yeah, so we go from pretty to even more pretty. So, legal dumps, as you can see, most of these pictures are all from illegal dumps that we found in Henderson. So where do we stand? They're becoming more frequent countywide. They're not just local roads, now we're going everywhere. I mean, our recycling crew and solid waste crew are finding them all over the place. Some of them are on county property, a lot of them being put now on private property, so they're now involved. So let's look at a couple factors that we feel are legal dumps. Number one, limited landfills. We only got one in the county, and it's no longer a landfill, it's a transfer station. So there's cost added to that. We've got a couple over in Owensboro, but they also have their faults. Secondly, a lot of this is subcontractors or sub of a subcontractors and DIY people, right? So as the sheriff has found the last couple of dumps, it's been a company who hired a sub to take care of our roofing, and then you got to follow that line down to find out who actually dumped it. So we've got those issues. They're also possibly trying to avoid the landfill expense, because to dump this obviously costs money, and the hours of landfill sometimes is not a good time frame for DIYers and roofing people who roof at nights and the weekends. The landfill's closed, they got a loaded truck, they're going to try to get rid of it somewhere. So that's possibly what they're trying to do, is eliminate the expense and the hours, which is kind of counterintuitive, because a lot of these people, from talking with the homeowners, charge the homeowners a disposal fee to get rid of it properly, and they didn't do it properly. So it's kind of weird. All right, so increased waste production, that means as economy goes up and more houses, you get more waste production. And again, I said before, the cost of disposal for getting rid of this material. Now, a lot of material we're finding is construction debris, which can't be as household waste. So a lot of times household waste that's in the city, that's in the county limits, it's dumped for free. So it's just a little bit of effort they would give rather than throwing it out on the side of the road. If they would just go, you've got no expense of that. Now, construction debris does, but that's part of, redoing the house. So now we're looking at effects. I mean, we all know the effects besides being a unsightly mess, right? We also have other intangible effects. Number one is a public health issue. This is obviously what kind of contaminants are in the disposal. Also, the guys who pick it up, the road department, solid waste people, the recycle people. I mean, they find needles, they find drug paraphernalia, they find little, small little 1-bottle meth labs, right? That now they're having to worry about while they pick this stuff up. Okay, so as you can see here, we had a dump that has gasoline cans, which is again contamination of oil, soil, and groundwater. We have wildlife habitat destruction. Not every critter loves to sit out in a tire or drink gas, right? So now we got prime mosquitoes and rodent infestation. Basically, that comes from tire dumps. Awesome place for mosquitoes to be at, right? So again, that's a slightly problem that we have. And what we've done as far as trying to counteract this, sheriff's office, for decades have had cameras up. Problem is that vandalism's too easy. Shoot out the cameras, find the cameras, steal the cameras. So a lot of times that becomes a problem with trying to get somebody from dumping to know where it's at, right? So, and not just countywide, we have to spend millions countywide, but statewide, United States wide, right? America wide, we have spent educating the public on how bad illegal dumps are. But from that, we get little effect. So it's talking is not enough. Cameras aren't enough. What else can we do? We try to put signage up, right? But as you can see in these pictures, that doesn't help. It's like a speed limit sign. When nobody's around, speed limit is just a suggestion. So here we have of signage. So now we're going to ask the public involvement. So legal dumps will continue, we know that, right? It's just too easy to get rid of it at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're hope some of this getting out in the public media, standing up saying, hey, this is the problem. It might minimize the number of dumps we have. So again, these just show you all the pictures we've had throughout the county, right, of all these dumps that we've had. So saying all this, we as a road department / recycling department / solid waste would like to see possibly the fiscal court, consider some type of a reward for, information that would actually lead to, a conviction or some type of work. Sheriff department, they go out and do the work. They go out and do the homework on the problems, but they're limited, and they can't put an officer for 3-4 weeks trying to find a legal dump. If we put it out, the fiscal court puts out a reward, and again, I have no monetary value against that. That's up for you all to decide. It may make people more vigilant. Seeing a truck come past them that's full, and then 20 minutes later come past them it's empty. Obviously, common sense would say they no longer have their load. That would give people the ideal. Now they got skin in the game, right? They got a reward they could get. They would possibly give us or give the sheriff's department descriptions, vehicles, have more people vigilant. I'm not saying that this will work. A lot of our dumps we find comes out of Evansville, Owensboro. But it would give the people on the road a more vigilant eye, seeing, people come through, and possibly how it would help out. What they could gain or benefit from just saying, oh, it's another dump, it's not on my property, and move on.
I have a question for Steve. So if we put a reward up, and it would be with the conviction of the person dumping before they received a reward, right?
For you all decide.
That would be my preference.
What's the odds of us getting a conviction just because I seen him go by with because see, I'm thinking like
I was thinking the
lawyer
same
now.
thing. It's really going to depend on, I think the type of tip that would be most helpful is the one that's like, I paid this person to dump this, and I don't think they did. And if we were able to match that up, or say that was my debris from my job or something like that. But a lot of it, the sheriff may want to chime in on what sort of tips would be most helpful. Honestly, we don't see a whole lot of criminal littering charges. And in Kentucky, there's no degrees of criminal littering. So the bubble gum wrapper out the window versus an illegal dump, it's pretty much the same charge. But it's a Class A misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to a year in jail and up to $500 fine, or both. And there are even some ways where illegal dumping, we've charged it as a felony in the past if it has certain types of debris, and it's trickier, but we've been able to do that before. But we really only see a few just because it is so hard to get that evidence. And I think the types of tips that actually would lead to convictions, they would certainly be helpful, but, and again, I'll defer to the sheriff on what tips would actually be most likely to lead to that.
Well, while he's walking up here too, I'm going to tell you something else from my perspective and my perspective only. It's a BS excuse, well, I hired somebody to do that. If you're the general contractor, it is your responsibility to make sure this waste from your job gets put where it's supposed to get. And if we're not pushing that, if we don't have things in place for that as a county, that's where we need to start with this, because that is, they could have dumped it themselves, said, oh, well, I paid somebody to do that. I mean, I'm not saying that, but that's garbage. That's a cop-out. That's not.
I think that's
I'd argue that
exactly
with
what was
anybody.
said on one of the last ones that we
Well, and that's a difficult thing. I mean, again, if you truly have, I mean, morally, there's a bunch of things that people should do.
Agreed.
That they don't. Like, listen, I need you to bring a receipt back from where you, here's the $500 to go take it to the landfill. I need the receipt to make sure that you spend it there and I get it back. So, but as far as tips go and rewards, and those are difficult. I mean, all the way around. Because Crime Stoppers is out there to assist in some of this, and most of the time it goes back to what it has to be something valuable that says, yes, this ties Nick into that dump. Most of what you're going to get is somebody that was with Nick that says, yes, I saw Nick do it, and then we got to prove that Nick did do it. And that's where it all comes. That's the difficulty with all these, is that you can get stuff to say that Nick dumped it, or Nick's job site, it came from Nick's job site, but to physically be able to say Nick did it, it's difficult.
Beyond a reasonable
really,
doubt.
really, really difficult. And as a prosecution goes, you're going to convict somebody that didn't do it, even though that he's responsible for the job. I think you run into some other issues along the way for a criminal prosecution. 'Cause that's what's hard with these, is you have to get the person that did it, not just the person that's names on the stuff in there, because they can say, listen, yes, that belonged to me, but Nick did it. And you go to Nick said, well, I cleaned out the storage building, but I didn't dump it. I had, I don't know, some guy down the street, I don't even know his name. So you start chasing these things down.
But see, I would argue that's the risk you take.
I
Stick your name on it, that's what you get.
I agree. However, to prove the crime of criminal littering, the elements we have to prove, it's 512070, and we have to prove they knowingly placed or throws litter in any public or private property. So it has to be them doing it. They can't be responsible, down the line for it happening. Now, if they tell somebody, go dump this there, they are as culpable for that as any. They're complicit in that. So they can be charged for that if they direct somebody to do that. But generally, it is the act of knowingly placing that we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's where, now what the commitment that we've made in our office and everybody in my office that does criminal prosecution, they know we don't deal away litter charges. They don't get dismissed. They don't get amended down. Litter charges stay as litter charges, and illegal dumping ones, we're talking jail time on those. It's not just a fine. But we just don't see many.
I was going to say, and that's been I mean, as long as I can remember it, and from when Charlie McCullum was the county attorney to when he was a district judge. I mean, it was always, listen, if you have criminal litter, and it's just hard. I mean, it's hard. Not that we're not going to try, but it's hard.
So here's my thought. We're failing at this. And I'm willing to try anything, including offering up to $10,000 to any citizen who provides a tip that results in a conviction. what's the downside? I mean,
Stop one.
and as you said, it's not just unsightly, it's a public health issue. I also would, encourage potential let's give it a shot in front of a jury and see what sort of evidence sways citizens here to convict somebody.
Like I said, we don't deal those away.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
not a thing now
we-
that they're going away. If somebody does not plead guilty, that case is going to trial.
I would love
I
to
know
take
what
a
you're
chance in
thinking.
front of a jury with some significant circumstantial evidence. Anyway, I'd just like to see what would happen.
Me too.
I agree
And
with
we
that.
convict a lot of people based on evidence other than eyewitness
Let me be on the jury, I'll hang it up for 3 months.
So what do we got to lose, Sheriff? And I know you've got a full plate of things, but this issue, we've been talking about it since I became judge, and it seemingly only gets worse. And I'm not putting that on you. I'm just saying that I'm fed up. I'm fed up, and much of the public is too. Not to mention the fact that because of some arcane rules at the state level, we can't always clean up these dumps. So it's on the private landowner to clean them up. And sometimes they clean them up by doing stuff that's illegal as well. I've known many farmers who've just lit the whole thing on fire, no matter what's in the pile, just to get rid of it. And that's not right either, but they almost have no choice but other than taking 8 hours out of their day or more and paying people to come get it, which is not right either. So I'm willing to go all in with a reward's easy. I know it doesn't always work, but it sends a
Something.
message. Hopefully it sends a message that we're trying, and if we can get one conviction based on a typical scenario of a contractor, a nefarious contractor who dumps in our county for whatever reason, if we just get one, I think that'll send a message that may prevent others. Who knows? Do I get any disagreement? Am I saying something
I'm
that's
on
not
board
reasonable?
with that. I support it.
You know, the only thing when we get to talk about Owensboro and Indiana, people dumping, maybe they're a contractor out of Indiana, they're dumping on their way home back across the bridge.
Oh,
You know,
happens a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, me too. I guess that's you can't, what do you do? I mean, even if you see them, I mean, and you have a
Depending on
license
what-
plate
Well,
number.
number one, if we know who it is and can track it down, then there can be a warrant issued, and so that would happen. Now, on a misdemeanor, warrants stop at the state line. But if it's a felony, if there's enough there, and if it's of the right type to be able to charge it as a felony, then that would go across state lines.
And
But again, we
that
have
was
to know
gonna be my
identities, not just like if
Yeah, that's.
if somebody were driving your vehicle, that license plate's going to come back to you, but we don't necessarily know that was you driving it, so we have that issue there. Now structurally, Sheriff, I know you've had more dealings with Crime Stoppers and organizations like that than I have as far as the inner workings. Would this be something, Judge, were you conceiving this as a direct payment from the county or a grant to an organization like Crime Stoppers? Or I don't know how that would work, and I don't know, Brenda,
Well,
how
I was just
that would
thinking
work
that
either.
maybe we could get a little research on that, come back with the the easiest fix there, the easiest solution and Crime Stoppers is established, in this community, so there's that. So I would ask the fiscal court's forbearance to at least give maybe Steve and I a chance, and the sheriff, to figure out what's best, what's easiest, what can be most effective, and then bring it back for a vote.
Yes, sir. I support that wholeheartedly.
Me too.
On maybe a different tact, in addition to what we're talking about here, because I am in agreement, but given some of the reasons that Nick presented as far as why we see this and are seeing it more and more, is there a way maybe we could even look at an amnesty day or week where we would allow folks to dump materials either at a reduced cost or a no cost? Is that done anywhere, or?
I've got the perfect person to talk about that. I've got
Eric's been dying to come up to
Eric,
that podium.
and we
I was gonna say we already do
offer
that.
3 times in the spring, 3 times in
Yeah.
the fall to dump anything, and we sporadically put those around in volunteer fire departments.
With the restriction against commercial CD&D.
Yes,
They can't do that.
Yes, because obviously, that is, but as far as household, yard load, whatever.
Right.
They got it.
Eric, if you wouldn't mind.
But-
One thing I'll say about this, we have a lot of great contractors in this community who operate, in a virtuous manner, but if you provided an amnesty date to bring CD&D, they would still charge some would still charge their customers
Absolutely would.
and keep the money and dump it on us, and the county would be paying for their profit. Go ahead, Eric.
Just going to say one thing that we've started doing as solid waste is I pick one day a week where I will go out and patrol these isolated gravel roads where the dumps are usually happening. Like you said, we've got the 3 spring cleanups coming up. There is restrictions on what you can bring. Another thing has been the tire dumps. We have a 3-day tire waste collection event the state pays for that's coming up in June.
But when it's inconvenient for tire dealers, some just dump them. I mean, I wish people acted better than they do, but they don't. And Eric, just for the record, because we get this asked a lot, the circumstances where the county can clean up an illegal dump versus when it's really left to the property owner. Can you describe those differences?
If it's, what do they call it, the easement, when it's.
In our easement.
Yeah, if it's 13 feet off the road, we can clean it up. If it's beyond that.
13 or closer, yeah.
If
And
it's
then-
beyond that, then we're not allowed to.
Now, if there's some evidence that, correct me if I'm wrong, the state will label a dump an illegal dump and free up some state resources to clean it up if there are certain circumstances,
Yeah,
right?
if they have a lock or a gate or something at the edge of their property that.
So if
they
somebody
would help
broke
pay-
through a gate,
Yeah, if someone broke through their gate and dumped on their property, the state would cover it. If they don't have that gate up and people can easily access that road or whatever, and they dump on there, then they're responsible for it.
now I know probably like me, you have no idea why the state decided there's a difference between busting through a gate and dumping versus not busting through a gate and dumping, but I can't change that here. If my door is open and you come into my house uninvited, you're still trespassing, but anyway.
Hey, just a question about the tires, that tire amnesty program. Is there, we got a limit on it, don't we? How many you can
think
bring
it's
out?
four,
No,
isn't it?
it's
Or-
unlimited, but there are restrictions on it. No calcium-filled tires, no over-the-road construction tires like.
Passenger tires is what we're talking
Any
about.
passenger on or off ram, tractor tires, you can bring them. If you bring a large amount, you have to bring a helper with you to help them unload.
But
Is there a market for
Those
the
normal
tires?
those normal tires are what usually end up in the legal dumps we see. It's not unusual tires.
Right.
Is there a market for those tires we get for,
No, we actually pay we get a $4,000 tire grant from the state.
From the state to
and then
cover it.
we've already used it, and so now we're at the point to where it's
It's out
gonna
of
start
pocket
costing
now.
us, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the next waste tire event you see on your screen.
Yes.
We try, and with the state's help, we
I just want to add this about the illegal dumps. Like, we have 2 main kinds of dumps. You got the contractor dumps, then you got the household trash dumps. The household trash dumps, a lot of people get confused because they think that you have to pay to get rid of that at the transfer station. You don't.
if you live in the county, we
Yeah, it's free.
we paid for that since I've got here. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
it's not free.
Well,
it's free. Yeah, it's subsidized.
It's of
yes.
no cost
You
to
don't
the
have to.
homeowner.
You don't have to pay at the window.
Yeah, it's of no cost to the homeowner.
Well, what I'd like to propose, again, to kind of summarize this, and I really appreciate the work you've done, and thanks for the presentation, is have Steve and me maybe work together to see what the easiest way to implement a reward system is. And the first chance we get between the sheriff's office and the prosecutor's office is to try to win one of these. Because again, what do we got to lose? Just knowing that we're serious about it may prevent some. And anyway, that's maybe next steps here.
I think it's a great idea. I
And even
appreciate
if-
the effort.
I kind of
Okay.
back to what you said, even if we lose, it was an inconvenience.
Well,
Now, I don't want you to think that we're not
No,
prosecuting charges.
no, that's-
I'm a little concerned when you say, try to win one of these. There aren't any cases we don't try to win.
well, But let me rephrase that. Be even more aggressive when we have the
Okay.
opportunity. But honestly, what I've heard over these years is very tough to do, very hard to do. But I don't know, in my time as judge, have we taken one to trial yet? Probably not, because it's been hard to do.
There's probably been less than 10 charges brought
Yeah, so.
during your
is there-
time as judge.
If there's a way we can.
Maybe less than 5.
If there's a way we can take it to that next step, if, get over that hurdle somehow, some way. And I know everybody's busy, our law enforcement personnel work very hard, but again, we're failing at this. It's becoming more of a problem. And for all the reasons that Nick listed, public safety, unsightliness, I mean, it's just worth pursuing, I think. And Sheriff, if you want to talk some more about that offline, I'd love to. Okay.
Hey, Nick, real quick, say you're on 1299 out there. And I don't travel it a lot. I mean, I've been up and down. I've seen on the side of the road where people have dumped wood, bushes, kind of in that ditch. Who's responsible for that cleanup on something like that? Because that's a state road, correct?
Yes, so the state.
So
do
the state
that.
has to clean that up?
And a lot of times,
My point was, we don't go back and pick it all up.
no, and if we see people like throwing yard debris, like grass clippings.
Yeah,
in the ditches.
grass bags are.
That's kind of a problem, is obviously it, detains the ditches that we don't need to be done. But as far as trees and bushes and things in a big old creek, if it becomes a problem, then we would pick it
Call
up.
it. But
Typically
it's the state's
Yes,
responsibility.
and the state would do the same thing, so, and ultimately, the, trees and bushes are probably a lot better than roofing and wood, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's part of it. Plastic bags end up being a problem because now it can't decompose because it's in a plastic bag, so the yard debris now just sits there rather than going out into the, environment, so.
Yep.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
You have in your packet the sheriff's monthly reports. These are the normal reports. Anything to add to those, Chip? Entertain a motion to accept those.
So move.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got several checks today. First interest, $100.48. Reimbursement, $3,984.37. $120 for jail fees, and another interest check, $726.01, bringing today's total to $4,930.86, and the fiscal year to date total to $141,993.82. And Arabella says she hasn't handled almost $5,000 before, so I'm going to ask her to hand that to the judge.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I always say it's just like being an adult. You get it in one hand and you end up giving it to the government.
Sad but true. Thank you very much. Entertain a motion to accept the county
So
attorney
moved.
report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judge, I do
Treasurer
have-
Ryder?
Oh, if I may,
Oh, yes, sir.
Judge, I do have a couple of personnel actions
Yeah.
that I'm looking to do within our office. As I talked about earlier, at earlier meetings, recruiting and retaining assistant county attorneys has gotten to the point where it's really difficult. And we found out recently that our pay is lagging far behind other offices around, like public defender's office, things like that. So without any additional funds, I've been able to figure out within our existing budget how to make some adjustments that would put a couple of our assistants more on par with peers at other agencies. So the first would be Kyle Evans. His current monthly salary is $7,335.92, and I'm asking permission to reallocate already budgeted funds to adjust his salary to $7,750 a month. And Macy Brown, her current salary is $1,085.41 per month, and I'm asking permission to reallocate existing funds to adjust her monthly salary to $1,752.03.
think it's, especially in the case of Kyle Evans, everybody's valuable, but Kyle's an old hand now. He's very experienced, and hanging on to him is extremely important to me, because I've seen the work he's done when Steve's not with us.
He's fantastic.
He's really a key asset.
Judge, do we even need a motion on that?
Yes, we do.
The, just like road department employees, things like that, anybody paid directly by the county, the fiscal court has to set their salary.
So moved.
which is fine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Treasurer Ryder.
This is the second budget, this is the second reading of a proposed budget amendment for budget amendment number 3 for the current fiscal year. This is amending into the general fund unanticipated receipts of $2 million. $1,100,000 for sports complex lighting, which was previously committed to the city, and $900,000 to be transferred into the general fund and then to the employee health insurance fund. Again, the total of this is $2 million.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? I will say that we have, in our health insurance fund, gotten a couple, at least one reinsurance check sent back to us. The current balance is pretty strong, but I think adding this $900,000 just to be safe is still a good idea. So we have a motion and a second. If there are no other questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I do not have any transfers, but I do have claims. From the general fund to First National Bank of Omaha, which is the clerk's credit card, $664.55, and this is to come from the office supplies appropriation line. To Visa, $858.30. This is, the majority of this is to come from the judge's training travel appropriation line. To Magistrate Tompkins, $662.58, and to Magistrate Starks, $662.58. Both of these are for reimbursement of training expenses and is to come from the fiscal court conferences training appropriation line. From the jail fund to Advanced Document Solutions, $962.23. This is for the copier lease agreement and is to come from the data processing equipment appropriation line. To U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, $1,475.98. The majority of this is to come from the equipment repairs and maintenance and prisoners transports and office supplies appropriation lines. I also do have a correction from the prior meeting where I need to correct the training incentive to be paid to Nick Stallings to be $4,215 versus what was initially presented, which was $2,000 something. And this is to be paid with the March 14th payroll.
That's what we budgeted for, Nick.
Move to pay the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. If anybody in the audience would like to say anything to court for good of the county, we welcome you to come to the mic. With that, we will go around the horn. Magistrate Southern, it's been an interesting meeting.
Yep, looked like a short one. They never worked out that way.
I didn't say it was going to be short either.
Arabella, congratulations. It's a big deal to get chosen from your entire school to represent them, and then it's your day. That's pretty special. I really like your dress. Judge, everything's good in District 3 except for my grain bin, and it's not letting grain go like it's supposed to.
Sounds like a Nick problem to me.
Yeah. But all's good in District 3.
Thank you. We're going to change it up and go to Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Judge. Things are good at the county attorney's office. I really appreciate the assistance of the fiscal court into helping retain some great folks. I would joke with law enforcement sometimes when they talk about how, well, if we hire somebody, it's 18 months, before we can get a good person actually on the streets. And I say it's about 7 years for me because I have to get them through college and law school. And then once I do and have great people there, it's really important to hang on to them. And this puts them on par with similar jobs in other places, actually jobs with less responsibility. But hopefully we'll keep them from having to look around. So other than that, things are going great. We've got a few folks out in the office on FMLA and things like that. So everybody's running 100 miles an hour. We appreciate your understanding. I sent the judge super late emails last night about contracts and stuff. So, but we're staying on top of things. But sometimes it's just a few hours before. Arabella, congratulations. I told you a lot of what we do is boring but important, and then you got exciting stuff. I know it didn't seem all that exciting, but we've got roads falling into rivers. We've got people dumping houses on other people's land. There's pretty, or things that used to be houses at least, pretty exciting stuff. But as Magistrate Southard said, this is your day. This has been declared Arabella Day in all of Henderson County. So nobody else can say that, and that's a big deal. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to your family. You've got a great young lady here. So go and have a great meal and keep on doing great things. You're about to go into middle school, and middle school has new challenges and everything, but I know you're going to hit it head on, and you're going to do great. Thank you.
Master Putman.
Thank you, Judge. Congratulations, Arabella. We're going to get to talk a lot. I'll let you do all the talking now at lunch. I just listen. So, but it is, as Mr. Gold said, a big day for you, and keep on doing what you're doing. And Judge, I'd like to thank Nick Stallings for that detailed report on that Green River Road. The presentation. I found it very interesting. And it looks like we're going to probably come up with a decent solution for everybody and maybe keep that road open. So I enjoyed it, Nick, believe it or not. It was I only got one county road, that's Rocks Road, and it's not caving in or nothing, so it's still in pretty good shape. So other than that, Judge, all is good and forth. And looking forward to lunch. I think we're going to Cracker Barrel, one of my favorites. Thank you, Judge.
Master Starks.
Thank you, Judge, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, it has been kind of an action-packed meeting today. And Arabella, I think if you take nothing else back to school with you, you'll know a lot more about again water dynamics and vortexes that eat out county roads, and then again the serious problem of solid waste and how to keep it in the proper place. Because it's really for your generation that we're trying to do these things, and make sure that we leave this place better for you folks that are going to be inheriting it. But really, congratulations to you, and continue to do what you're doing. I'll expect even more great things in the years to come, and certainly congratulations to your family as well. Have a great lunch with Magistrate Putman, and it's 2 desserts, 3 desserts. It's not off the table at all. But I did want to just remind folks, with the beautiful weather that we're having right now, we've got some fun things going on. I was very lucky to be out at South Middle School last night for rehearsal of The Wizard of Oz, which have a lot of young people from elementary, even some middle school, and along with the high schoolers, and they're doing great things out there as well. It's going to be a fun show this weekend. If you can, get out there, support them with that. Kentucky Battle, we've got another great show out at the Fine Arts Center. So, and again, a lot of great local folks, Bonnie Bartley and some other fellow alumni from community theater are in that. So if you can avail yourself to that, please do. We've got a great facility out there at the college, so use it. Otherwise, we might lose it. So With that, I can't think of anything. I hope everybody has survived daylight savings time. And just wish you all the best. Be safe out there as warm weather gets out. I've noticed a lot of motorcycles out there of late, so just be safe, especially with all the road closures. And it seems like that grows exponentially by the day, so just be extra careful, keep that speed down, and be safe. And everything else is good in the 5th.
Master Tompkins finally gets to experience batting cleanup.
That's all right. That's all right. I've already had the privilege to talk to this wonderful young lady. I complimented on her style, which is amazing. And, got to talk to her briefly. She's a very modest young lady, which I also admire. So she clearly chooses to do things the right way for the right reasons. And I shared with her that that's going to continue to take her far. So we're super proud of you. Everybody says it and we mean it. So continue to do the right things the right way, and the sky's the limit, young lady. Get old Butch there and get him for at least 1 or 2 desserts anyway. So we're proud of her. I know you guys are, so congratulations to y'all too. District 2, me and the county engineer are battling quite diligently with the road conditions for the solar installation. It's not by my estimate or by my account going very well. The roads are dirty, they're getting torn to pieces. I don't believe they're being very good partners right now. So we're working to do what we can within the confines of KRS and different things like that to make sure they're doing their part. And so we're working on that. For those of you guys that are out there having to drive through all that mess, we're trying to do what we can. And outside of that, everything else in District 2 is good. Thank you.
Thank you. And Arabella, congratulations. And glad you were with us today and got to get a firsthand look at how government works. And as Mr. Gold says, it's not very exciting sometimes, but always important. And thank you for sharing Arabella with us today and bringing the whole family. I can kind of tell she's kind of your mini-me. Just, I can see there's a...
She's heard that enough times.
Enjoy lunch, and Master Putman's a great guy. I look forward to talking to you, and tell everybody at the 1199 that we say hello, and they should be very proud of you. Is it the Rocket Dome? Is that what they call the gym? They ought to have something for you at the Rocket Dome today. I'd be all for Mr. Black doing something special. Oh my gosh.
As it should be.
Maybe
As it should be.
Unprecedented. That's
Congrats.
really special.
That is impressive.
Go home and play video games all day.
I think today was an example of us trying to make good decisions in tough situations, and hope everybody watching understands that's the challenge of this position is weighing factors and trying to come up with a good decision. It's not always easy. It's not always obvious, but it needs to get done. And sometimes all you just need is more information. So I know maybe in some cases it feels like we put stuff off, but as Mr. Gold has reminded me many times over the years, I've experienced myself, and I've been responsible for past examples of this. Rushing to decisions seldom works out well. It almost always has a consequence in the end. So patience with us as we work through these things. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this very interesting meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.